Welcome to Angels and Demons podcast. My name is Vincent Morgan. This episode is for season 1. This is Hodge. Welcome, Hodge.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on this podcast. A little bit about Hodge. We go back quite a few years and very good friend of my family's. Through those years, I personally have underestimated a significant moment in his life, and I humbly apologize.
It's all right.
It wasn't until a little bit ago that thinking about it on the couch, I just thought, I was looking at the newspaper. He was put in the newspaper where the car that he was in was flipped over, correct?
3 times.
times.
Landed upside down.
And to have Hodge here living is just an absolute miracle in itself. But what's even more interesting about that, just to give a little introduction, is Hodge was the director over at Shands Hospital. And when he was there and leaving there, he ends up moments later going back to the very hospital he was working at. And before the accident, can you take us back to the day of the accident? What do you remember leading up to it, Hodge?
I remember absolutely nothing.
That is incredible because you must have been hit very, very hard. To remember nothing?
That's correct.
You were hit so hard that you didn't even know where you probably were. Was there anything unusual about the day, or did it feel like any other day at first?
Don't remember anything.
So when you left, before you left the hospital, though, did it feel like another day at work?
Don't remember.
Okay.
The last thing I remember, there's 2 distinct memories that I have before the accident. One is Reggie Bush doing a flip into the end zone during the NFC Championship game.
Hey! Right? That's awesome.
That's the last memory.
Hey, that's a good, I like that. Okay.
Because my accident was on a Monday around 1 o'clock midday. The NFC Championship game was the day before, and I have a lot of friends from New Orleans. Actually, one of the physicians that worked on me is a big New Orleans Saints fan, so I just remember being at his house watching that game.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I remember before waking up in a room.
So the last thing you remember before the impact wasn't much. Were you conscious during the crash? Obviously not. Did you realize how serious the situation was right away? Obviously not, because you're knocked out. So your impact, can you, from what you've been told then, what was your impact?
So the reason I know so much about what happened while I was in my coma was because my mom kept a journal. She wrote in it every day. And she just gave me those journals a year ago, and I started reading them, and I get about 2 or 3 pages before I start crying. So
very emotional.
But there's so much information in there. You could just see where she was just mentally dumping to help herself, like, not stress out. And to go back and read those, and she wrote down the ventilator settings, she wrote down the operations, the things that were happening. And coming from a medical background, it was like, this is a dead man walking. I've seen so many people die from lesser of these injuries, right? And I've had like the trifecta of injuries. So yes, it's a miracle that I'm here, but it's cool that my mom kept a record of it so I can go back and read about it, like a day by day, every day account of what happened.
Now, I don't want to peel a layer back that is going to be of any harm, but when you say you're reading pages and it's so difficult that you can barely get through, what are some of those pages about the accident that really are triggers for you?
I mean, you have to believe in God when you read through these pages, and like any millimeter to the left, to the right, any one thing goes wrong, I'm dead, right? Like everything just, I wouldn't say perfect because it took them 3 months to, get me out of my coma. But I mean, it just, at the end of the page, right in the beginning, when I was my sickest, at the end of the page, having a good day means I only went into cardiac arrest twice that day.
Wow. So we need to rewind just a little bit. Let us know from what you know.
Okay.
So how, from what you read, did this accident take place? We're talking about a car accident that Hodge was in.
Right.
A particular car accident, not your average day like T-Bone. This was a car that you look at that looked like it was just created for scrap metal. That's how smashed the car was. So what can you tell us about just what you have read about the car accident?
Sure. So I was out with a rep. Typically, they do these setups where you can go in and look at their equipment, play around with it, and they like to take you out of the hospital, because if you're in the hospital trying to do this, you're constantly getting interrupted. So they put on a lunch, they put on a show and tell, they, but I guess catering didn't show up that day. So we went and did his presentation, stopped and got something to eat, run our way back to the hospital about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we were in downtown Jacksonville, right by the Salzbacher Center and FSCJ downtown campus. And we had the green light. He went to take off. From his account, this lady going full speed in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. She hits us. We flip 3 times. And here's miracle number 1, right? She hit us so hard, she pushed me over to the driver's seat, and he ended up on the windshield looking up at me.
What?
And he said he just watched the life go out of my eyes.
What?
And yeah. And so
So you essentially died.
So one of my injuries that I had is called a transected aorta. Do you know what that is?
Please enlighten me.
Okay, so your aorta comes off of your left ventricle. It is the largest vessel that pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of your body.
Okay.
Right? It goes through your body, then it comes back into the right atrium, and it goes through the heart to the lungs, back to the heart, back oxygenated, blows off CO2, right? So your aorta hangs like a tree branch. Like your heart is just kind of swinging. It's loose. And it sits between your 2 lungs, which cushions it. So what happens is on immediate impact, it almost snaps like a twig. And so my aorta ripped open, right? And there's less than a 1% chance of surviving that in the first 8 minutes because your body just bleeds out.
For the audience, I'm just going to say it for us all. How is that possible? Okay.
I got hit really hard.
Did you hear that? Did anyone not understand that? Say it one more time, Hodge.
Transected aorta.
So his aorta peeled apart?
It snapped open like this, right? Like if you're bending a twig and it kind of starts to fracture, right? You get that light green. So that's what happened to mine. So there's 2 things. There's a dissection of an aorta, which happens inside the lining.
Understood.
And that's a slow process where it just starts to peel away layer and layer and layer.
This is different, though.
Yep, that's just internal. This is usually a traumatic where it rips open and you die immediately, like you just bleed out because your left ventricle is pumping.
And you said 1%.
Less than 1% chance.
How can it be so high? I mean, I would say if you told me 0.0000000, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to agree. I'm not going to argue the math.
Right.
But when you say 1%, I'm like, you're telling me that there are surgeons at a hospital that you can have an injury like that can repair something?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, they can if it's happens slow or if it's a slow enough tear that it slowly leaks. Right. But a traumatic, it opens all the way up. It's like getting like a whole gunshot wound.
Game over.
Paramedics can't fix. There's no way to get into the chest. To fix it other than cracking a chest, going in there with your hand and squeezing or repair. And paramedics aren't trained to do that.
So I'm just going to take a guess you're in a medical coma.
Medically induced coma? Yes and no, because I was awake. So the aorta ripped open. We landed upside down. So the flap closed on itself and clotted before I bled out. And because it took them almost 30 minutes to cut me out of the car.
Okay, I'm pointing towards the angels now. That's an angel. I mean,
you've
got a really good one around you. Yep. Wow, so it clotted?
So, the flap ripped open. We flipped 3 times. On that third, we landed upside down. If we didn't land upside down, I wouldn't be here.
If you didn't land upside down, you wouldn't be here.
Correct.
God, that is insanity. And so as a result of that, how did the surgeons, from what you read, go about repairing this?
Sure. So I got into the trauma center. Again, they had to cut me out of the car. The homeless people across the street stole my shoes while I was unconscious and was taking all my stuff.
The homeless people stole your shoes?
Yeah, there was a couple of guys that said that they witnessed, they were just grabbing stuff.
Were we wearing Kobe Bryant's?
No, they were Crocs.
Jordan 4 3s?
I was wearing my Crocs.
Oh, those are nice. Those feel real good.
Well, somebody's really enjoying them. But so I got into the trauma center. I was actually paged out. So there's different levels when you come into a trauma center. Level 1 being the worst, right? Because everything's based on resources needed. Well, when they got me out of the car, I was talking. I don't remember any of this, right? But according to the report and the people that worked on me, I was up talking but they didn't know who I was because I was so bloodied.
All over, blood everywhere.
Blood everywhere. And
the people that normally wouldn't recognize you.
That's correct, because I worked at the hospitals at
Shands Hospital.
Yep. And what was happening
those that don't know, don't mean to interrupt, Shands is a trauma.
Level 1 adult and pediatric, and it's actually called UF Health now, but yes, it was Shands back in the day.
It's not just any hospital. If you have a major gunshot wound, stabbing, or incident, you are going to be going to Shands. That's what we have to offer.
Yep, that's exactly right. No better place to go. I mean, they literally saved my life. So they didn't page me out as a level 1 because I wasn't that serious. They didn't know what was so serious. I had a shattered pelvis. I blew out both of my lungs. They did not know about the aortic transection, right? Again, it's a miracle. And you don't see those until 1, it happens and someone dies in front of you, or 2, you go and get a CT scan, which is what happened to me. But what happens in a trauma center is you have a group of people, and depending on the levels, everybody gets paged, right? Radiology, the surgeon, ER for airway, all of that. And so the team shows up, and then as you don't need people, you can send them away. Well, my pager kept going off, and they're like, somebody please turn off your pager. And at that point, they'd already cut all my clothes off. They were just starting to clean me up. And then I guess one of the nurses that took care of me, she was like, I looked down, I wiped your face, and I was like, holy shit, this is Hodge.
No way.
And then it just escalated from there. And so I started to not do very well. And so they're like, all right, let's rush him to CT, because everybody gets a chest x-ray, right? Get a finger in the butt, all of these things. This is just standard practice of every trauma patient that comes in. And so they went and did what's called a CTA, where they shoot dye and they look at all the vessels in the heart. And then that's when they discovered, holy shit, he has a aortic transection. And then they're like, holy shit, he's not dead. Holy shit, wow. What do we do? So at that point, things start to escalate a little bit faster. They start to figure things out real quick. They ended up bringing a surgeon. So
you move from one place to the next, to the next, to the next so fast.
Well, just the people. Yeah. And it's hard to do all of this in a 30-minute explanation. I'm just trying to skip ahead. So the stents that I got in my heart, so it's just like repairing any other heart, right? If you have to go snip a piece and put it back, you put these stents in, it's like a mesh, and then your blood vessels naturally grow around it. And that makes the bridge, right? Kind of like if you have a STEMI, right? And something blocks your heart, they go out, they roto-rooter that in, and then they put in a stent in that piece to keep it open, right? While your heart heals. The miracle number 2, well, out of many, the ones that I got were FDA approved in December, and I was the first person in America to get them in February.
That's incredible.
Due to a traumatic injury. And they had a surgeon come down from, I think he was from Charlotte.
That particular stent.
Yep. And I was the first one to get it. And because of that situation, they didn't have to crack my chest to repair my heart. They went in through my groin. So I was the first person to get that type of procedure, because typically you got to crack open a chest.
So that definitely is miracle number 2. Survival of an extreme car accident where you're flipped over. If you weren't flipped over, you wouldn't have survived. And then second of all, you had this incident where you have the stent, first person that had this type of stent to bring you to the point that you can be here today sharing your story.
That's correct.
And if I can peel any more layers back, what do you remember reading as far as recovery from that point? When's the surgery? Were any of the surgeons people that you knew that worked on you?
Every single one of them. Personally, because I worked with them in business meetings. I worked in the trauma center. I worked with them. I ordered all their equipment. I trained everybody on the equipment.
So you're like, bye, everyone. Hope you have a nice night. And then you're covered in blood. They're wiping your eyes. And they're like, this is Hodge. This is our director. What is going on here?
That's correct.
That must have, from their perspective to yours, just the emotional impact it had on them and you as being friends has probably its own conversation on its own. Your mental and emotional recovery from that experience, knowing that you are literally a miracle, how does that make you feel?
I used to ignore it, didn't care about it, just wanted to, quote, get back to normal, right? Didn't want to be the center of attention or the sick kid or the guy that, the cripple. So I think I'm still recovering from it 18, 19 years later, right? I'm left with one lung, scars, all those kind of things. So every day I'm having to readapt. And
what's the hardest part? What's the hardest emotional part of that for you now?
I think I'd say the frustration of not being as athletic as I was before. right? Not being able to do the simple things. So love sports, played sports, did all the running,
Baseball,
swimming,
football,
anything.
basketball, you name it, you like to do it.
Yeah,
So
anything
it
competitive.
limited what you love to do.
Physical, swimming oceans. I wasn't the best surfer, but I mean, it was
Love to
something
be
to
in the
do.
water.
I love being in the water. It's just weird going from a mindset of like, you'll never quit, I never get tired, to now I'm always tired. I can barely breathe.
What has this showed you, like, where these moments of hopelessness come in, where you reflect back? Because obviously, if you're still reading a journal and it's emotional to you, you find that there is some divine purpose for your life here. You don't experience miracles of survival and not have some kind of impact where you realize you have a divine purpose on this earth.
Yeah, that's a great question and a great perspective. So since reading that journal, I just kind of ignored it, let it go away. And people do tell you, oh man, you're a miracle, you're a miracle. And I recognize that. I'm not trying to be like so pompous that whatever, nobody did anything for me. I never been like that. I've been more appreciative and humble. But I will tell you, after reading that journal, the accident was not about me. It was about all the people that took care of me.
The surgeons that you personally know that helped you.
The surgeons, the nurses, the techs, the people that clean the room, the people
to guide their hands to so perfectly do that and place those stents so that everything could be working how it is.
And I'll say it wasn't my prayers that saved me. I was just the guy asleep. It was all the people all around the world praying for me.
Were you always a Christian before the accident?
My dad's right now, he's retired, but semi-retired, but he's a Southern Baptist preacher. So I grew up in the church.
Okay.
Right. I was forced to go whether I wanted to or not. Right. Be the example or I'll make you an example. Turn or burn, black and white. There's no in between. No in between. It's you're either for me or against me. Right.
Bend over, get a spanking, or you're the best kid in the world.
Spare the rod, spoil the child, man. And
I got you.
I can't ever say they weren't. He never whipped me when it wasn't undeserved.
Okay. Hey, that's a blessing right there. That's miracle number 3.
I deserved every one of them I got. I'll tell you that. I earned. If I'm going to get whipped, I'm going to earn it.
Well, I mean, coming from a strong community background too, where I feel like the spirituality element was over the top, I've come to realize, that it's sometimes your past and what you go through is just more stepping stones in preparation for your future. Yep. So you're looking at this in a way that I think is an incredible maturity. I mean, Hodge, I have to say that just your presence, your smile, your joy of going through something like that. I've been to a place where I've been in a near-death situation, so I know what that's like, but yours is a little bit different. And the way that you're unpeeling it is similar to how I've impacted, how I went through my situation. I'm slowly just now acknowledging what happens. I don't know why we as humans do that, but when we go through a traumatic situation, we try to almost pretend it never happened.
Yeah. Well, because you want to get back to normal, right? You don't want that kind of attention. Yeah.
So you try to just forget it ever happened. Then when you go back to realize what actually happened, you realize by the grace of God, you were spared and your life has a purpose. And the physical recovery and strength and all that went through that is absolutely amazing.
Vinny, we can't be so short-sighted to think that Job was the only one the devil tempted the Lord with to prove his faith.
That's a good point.
Job didn't have Job to go back to as a reference point, right?
That's a good point.
So I don't think it was because of me. I think it was Billy Graham back in 1980. Do you have time for a
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Billy Graham, you know Billy Graham?
Yes.
He was on his second crusade through Las Vegas. He was doing a 3-night crusade at the MGM Grand. And night 1, 35,000 people were there. Between night 1 and night 2, there was a major fire at the MGM Grand and it killed 80-something people. And so the news comes and everybody, they put microphones in Billy Graham's face, right? And they're like, well, why do bad things happen to good people? Why would this happen? If the Lord was here, why didn't he protect?
Terrible thing happen.
Well, I love Billy Graham. He's got some good wisdom. He was like, sometimes we can't look at things as bad and good happening. It's happening because it's a rally, right? Because of that fire and all the resources, he went from 35,000 people the first night to a little over 100,000, where they had to move it outside.
What?
Because they were using the conference center as a place to, stage for the fire and the people that were hurt. And he was like, look at all these resources. Look at all these people that are now praying for Las Vegas and all of these people.
That's an incredible story.
It sucks that it happened. Yeah. But then you look at the crucifixion of Jesus. Would you call that a negative event or something that had to happen to someone for the greater of good?
Watching the Passion of Christ was not an easy thing for me to watch, because I mean, I realized through that, like, you know, he went through a human pain level that probably was the worst of any kind. So if there isn't someone in the world that can say, hey, I went through a worse pain than you, he kind of went through it all to set an example, and then died upon the cross, you know, stabbing in vinegar, all that. Yeah, you have a good point there.
It's not a negative event. No, it was a bad thing that happened to a person.
Right. You're making a good point. But I see where you're going.
Right. He needed Judas to get to the cross.
Yes.
Joshua, his brother, sold him. Right. He said no to the king or the Pharaoh's wife. He was doing the right thing by walking away and ended up in prison for 3 years before he was anointed.
Yes.
Right. Is that a bad thing that happened to a good person, or is that a stepping stone to get to where you need to go?
You know, this is something I'm learning and finding a lot through doing this, is these traumatic experiences. I call them traumatic or very, very like dramatic situations in people's life that cause the mind to have a mental health spasm, where you adjust, you have a major adjustment to where, like you said, you go about this experience and then you go back to what's, quote, a normal life. Through this, what would your advice be, or reflecting upon this incident, to someone that's going through a rough experience?
I would say allow people to help you. Don't be so stubborn.
Were you stubborn during the process?
Absolutely. The entire step of the way. Okay. Right? Like, I mean, obviously the physical therapists were there for a reason. The people that came and visited me for a reason, but I wish I would have just let go more, because people genuinely want to help. It's kind of like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. People don't know how to help you, right? Because they don't know what you need. And it's okay to be like, okay, I do need a ride to the doctor's office. I'm still not allowed to drive. I do need you to come cook dinner. I do need, you know.
So don't be stubborn in letting people help you.
Just, yeah. And don't rush it. Don't rush rehab. That was the other thing, is I just wanted to get to normal.
So what has surprised you most since the accident about yourself?
What has surprised me the most about myself?
Or how are you living differently today?
Appreciation. It's not that I was ever not appreciative, but I pay attention. Things happen for a reason. We may not know it. Good, bad, positive, negative, however you want to look at it. It's to get you to a point, right? And sometimes the Lord needs to push you. Sometimes you're the vessel, right? It didn't happen to me. It happened through me. He's going to use it somehow. He hasn't really chosen. Maybe he has, and I just don't realize it yet, right? I mean, I'm here. Would I be here if that happened?
Absolutely not.
You know, and who knows where it's going to go from here.
And that's what this podcast is about, is you are not alone. I mean, and how you, Hodge, are sharing like a support system. And that's what this podcast is all about, is we want to be a support for other people, because there are some very difficult valleys that people go through, and it's easier said than done. But what Hodge is saying here is, if someone is trying to help you, like, we are just trying to be a source to let you know that there's some very low places that people have gone through. And if someone's willing to help you or be an encouragement, then be there and accept it. Because that seems like it would have been very helpful for you.
I don't know if it was because of my dad. I mean, there was people praying around the world. There was a village in Africa that some missionary friends of mine were trying to get them, you know, he was helping them with the water and doing other things outside of their religion, but then he was just trying to get them to grasp God and the understanding and that he loves you. And so at some point throughout my coma, you know, they were writing letters, or I'm sorry, a lot of that is very foggy to me, so I'm sorry if I don't get it right, but there was communication that he just asked the village to pray for me.
During the recovery?
No, while I'm in my coma, the recovery, the whole thing.
Okay.
And my parents were keeping them updated on the good, the bad, the good, the bad, the good, the bad. And then when the good started and I turned the corner and actually started to get better, he said a small revival broke out.
Wow. That's very special. So that's that gave me goosebumps
so
hearing
like,
that. That's very
I don't know that would ever happen.
We never really covered that, but how long were you in that coma for, medically induced coma?
Sure. It was roughly 3 months. I physically woke up before I remember waking up because obviously they were trying to titrate me off of the, the sedatives and the medication and the pain meds and stuff. And so I slowly woke up, but I just remember distinctly waking up, and it was at nighttime, my first time, and then I fell back and then woke up again, and it was like kind of midday-ish, if I remember correctly. So I just remember like these little flashes of moments, and then I just woke up.
I've been there. As you're kind of coming out of the anesthesia, your mind's just kind of fogged. You don't really remember. It's kind of all like a dreamy state of mind. You're not really conscious, but you are. So that process took about 3 months, though, for you, or 3.5 months for you to come back to a full, conscious state.
I was still in the ICU for about another month. Then they downgraded me, went to rehab at Brooks, coded at Brooks.
How long at rehab were you?
The first time, only 2 days, because I coded at rehab. And so they had to take me back to the ICU for another, I'd have to ask my parents.
If you had to take a guess, what would you say?
6-7 weeks.
Okay. Incredible. So from what time frame to what were you really dependent on someone else's care, or in a very gentle stage of care, would you say? Was it a year? For 1 year?
My rehab was about 2 years because I lost the use of my right arm for a year. And your brachial plexus is a bundle that sits between your scapula and your clavicle. And my scapula in the back, your bone in the back, clavicle, collarbone, they broke. And they severed my brachial plexus, which is like the bundle of nerves that tells your fingers to move, that tell your elbow to move. So when I woke up, I couldn't move my right arm. And then your sheaths grow back about 1 millimeter a week.
So that's how long it took. You said about 2 years.
About 2 years to get to where I am now, right?
Wow. That's incredible. Did you feel like as you were going through that process, any thoughts of giving up or not pushing through it? Was it just overwhelming to you, or did you feel encouraged in any way? It sounds like from the box of letters and things journals from your parents were very supportive during that time to you.
Only in the first couple of weeks, because I was still trying to figure out what was going on. I remember when I woke up, I know the beeping. I knew that I was trached, and I knew I wasn't breathing on my own. I could see the ventilator out of the corner of my eye. So I knew it was bad. I figured out I had a catheter in, I had a rectal tube in, I had chest tubes in, so I had bilateral chest tubes, so I knew all of that was in. I could hear the bubble of the pleurovac. So I knew something was bad, and I'm just still trying to figure it out. And then as people started to come in, and, because like I said, I woke up to them about 2 weeks before I remember waking up. So all these questions, and I couldn't talk, and I couldn't use my right arm, so everything was done.
Because you had a trach in.
So I was blink or squeeze my hand 3 times for yes, and then they also had these vision boards that you could type out and stuff. But, I guess I was asking the same questions over and over and over. So by the time I remember asking them, they were so sick of answering me because they knew I was going to ask them again in 10 minutes. What happened? Where am I?
So how many years ago was this accident?
It was January 29th, 2007.
You know the day, you know the time. Right there. Hey, can you hold that up for the camera so they can see that? That's incredible. 1/29/2007. That's the day you will never forget. Though you don't remember it. I was going to say that. Though you don't remember it, with people taking notes and being by your side, you were able to experience what you would have been able to understand going through if you were awake. That's just incredible that you have such a positive demeanor about you going through something like that. And God bless you for that. Yeah. Every day to me is a journey. And as we progress in that journey, we try to take these things behind us that are very difficult and not have them be anything but stepping stones for further success in our lives. Right. And I'm really impressed, Hodge. I mean, that's very moving because, it's a miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle. And there is so much purpose for your life.
Yeah.
There's so much purpose in your life. And just to know you and the blessing you are in the community, it's just been a pleasure to have you on this podcast, share your story, and let others know that if they have an incident where they feel in a low moment, you really said something that really impacted me. It's do not push away people that want to help you.
Right.
This platform, If you want to contact and say something or have us be of assistance to help you in any way, that's what we're here for. Sometimes you just need to talk to someone.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need to unleash your mind. Sometimes it's just to have a friend, to go out, get a drink, have some time, go into surfing, doing something, to know you are not alone. Because when you are alone and you go through these things, you feel very isolated. You know, your thoughts overpower you and start defeating you as a person. And the more you probably read notes about people wrote about your accident, it's probably very emotional. Or I'm just going to say it is emotional, right?
It is.
Have you gotten through this book?
No, I'm not. There's 5 full spiral notebooks. And I've gotten through.
Your mom or your dad? Who is
it's
the
all
primary?
my mom.
You're all your
my
mom. Okay.
All my mom.
God bless your mom. Your mom sounds like a trophy mother.
She is an amazing woman. Her job gave her a leave of absence. She came and lived in Jacksonville. They live in Panama City Beach. My dad would drive over every weekend.
5 spiral books.
Full
of notes.
I should have brought them.
Of your experience. We'll post them on the website. We're going to post some of them so you can see how lovely this woman is, Mrs. Hodge. Because, to be able to love your child that much where you wanted to make sure that every moment, she didn't know when the last moment for you probably was. But for her, she loves you so much. She wanted every detail recorded in that book. That's really precious. That's really precious. So you said you were how far along?
Not even a quarter of a way through the first one. I'm only through the first 3 weeks. It's tough. Okay. It's tough, man.
Okay. So to me, I had a box on a previous podcast for 27 years was buried underneath my bed. I didn't go near it. I didn't touch it. Because when I flipped through the pages of it, I saw some very dark stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that death was crawling like bugs all over your body. And the thoughts of all the incidents start bombarding your brain. And you literally start going crazy. The first thing you do for me is grab a Bible and start reading scripture just to contain sanity.
Yep.
Because the emotional impact from what others go through while you are going through a tragedy is all one experience. Meaning when you get injured, your whole family was a part of it.
Yep. And the entire hospital.
My
coworkers were the ones working on me when I went into cardiac arrest. Right? They didn't want to pronounce me. They did not want to be the employee
that pronounced you.
Pronounced me dead.
Yes.
And so they were always like, please God, not on my watch. And it would happen, and they would do everything they could, and they brought me back over and over. I think the record was 14 times in one night.
Resuscitated you.
Full cardiac arrest, CPR, epi, the full thing, because I was so sick. My pelvis was shattered. My lungs were full of junk.
14 times
was the record.
Hodge was resuscitated. I mean, this stuff is like unseen, unheard, you know? You are a miracle. I mean, just the fact that your body is capable of healing from that is quite a testimony in itself. You know what? If I have any recommendation to you, it would be, and I'm not trying to like peel back layers of pain, but through the love of your mother that she has for you, just to read through that might have some healing factor. Like I just got through my stuff.
Sure.
And at the end of it, even though it was very hard, I was reading Children's Miracle Network for cancer survivors that have childhood leukemia. It was a very, very difficult read. When I got through it though, I realized that it really was other people caring about me. It would expose details of what I went through. It demonstrated what other people did for me. And you just stated something about not pushing people back when they're trying to help you. In a way, she was trying to help you in documenting this. You might get a page in that book where you feel led to come back to this podcast and share. And I'm really excited to see what that is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, what so far in that book, if you had to pick one thing that has just bled through the paper, that has really taken you to where you're like, my mom is not just a mom.
Yeah.
I just saw something that is very influential in my life.
At the bottom of every page, she wrote a prayer and thanked God for the people. Right? Even if my son doesn't make it, I'll praise your name.
Can you say that one more time? So kindly?
I'll try.
Okay. I'm going to close my eyes. You close your eyes.
Even if, today's my son's last day, and it kind of changed from day to day, but even if today's the day that you take him home, I'll still praise your name.
God bless you, Hodge. In Jesus' name. I mean, that is so powerful. The love of a mother for her son and her children is sometimes a reflection, or most of the time a reflection, of how Christ loves us. And the thing about it is, with our parents even, and no matter what we do, Christ always lets us come back and have an opportunity to be right with him. He's always there for us. He never pushes us away. He's always there for us.
Yep.
And your mom is a resemblance of Christ. And to say that, and she knew that the people, like my mom when I had cancer, she prayed a very similar kind of prayer, like, God, let the technicians that are helping my son doing this, may you guide their hands. I'm going to share one story. This is not about me. This is about Hodge, but I'm going to share the story. When I had T-cell leukemia, my mom was in Canada, okay? And when she was in Canada, I had no veins. I was stuck all over, fingers, feet, all over. I had a port catheter here. The port was infected. They couldn't use it. For 2 hours, they tried to get a blood vessel, and they couldn't do it. And so the doctor comes in, and he says, Vinny, if we cannot get this antibiotic in your system, you will die tonight. And I told my dad, I'm okay with that.
Wow.
Now, he said, son, I love you very dearly. Will you give it one last time? And I said, no. Now, the doctor came back in the room, and he said, my dad was crying. He said, I'm not going to let your son die. Let me make a phone call. He made a phone call, and it was a lady that did for babies that come prematurely before the time is due. Preemies. It's all preemies.
Yep.
And she was 3 hours away on a helicopter ride. She had to wait 3 hours. Miracle, because it had to be within the certain time frame. When she got to the bed, she just said, even the smallest baby, you've been the hardest patient I was to get a blood vessel, to get blood, to get the IV going. But she did it. And those prayers that people were praying for stuff like that to happen is so powerful, because God intervenes in those moments and gives a medical technician, the ability to do something. And you know what? I really don't mean to down medical people, but when people go in for medical treatment, they're just so unkind. Do you notice that?
More than not, yes.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's just be kind to medical people, because they're saving your life. The people doing your hard stuff and that put my cancer in remission, those people, I have those doctors' names. Those are unselfish people. There's nothing glorifying in working in those situations, from the visual aspect to everything. In a trauma center like you were working in, you see all of the most horrific incidents take place.
Absolutely.
So we need to give respect and honor, I think, to these health providers, because Christ works through them. And the lack of respect given to them, I'm not saying it's going to cost a life, but when Christ looks on that and sees you praying, he can guide your hand.
Absolutely.
And he definitely, in your case, guided those surgeons in a way so that their instruments and their this and their that was in the right place so that you could be alive to share your story. Right. And it's powerful. It's powerful on your mother's side, how much love she had for you. Yep. It's powerful that you're alive. And it's powerful that through that, your advice and reflection from your story is strong. You don't resent God from this.
No, absolutely not.
Your faith is only stronger.
It has to be.
So
just more proof, right? Like I said, Job may not have been the only one ever tested. And what did his friend say? Job, you're only doing this because you did something wrong. And Job never turned away. If he bitched, he bitched directly to God.
Isn't that incredible?
Right. Because he knew he was like,
he set the bar high.
And then he got it back tenfold. I'm not saying I am. I don't know. But I mean, we don't go through it for us. We go through it for others. I'm glad I was chosen.
I'd rather be Jonah spit out by a whale and a little palm branch, grow over me and I'm in the shade. Ooh, this is nice. But I get the point. It's like, he went through a time like Paul where he went through an incredible persecution. And through that, people are like, like you gave a good analogy for that to help our viewers understand that sometimes these deep, dark valleys are the time that exercise your identity of who you are. Right. They start creating who you are as a person. So you look at yourself and you say, who am I? Because when it's all good, when money's flowing, when traveling's good and work is going good and everything's perfect, it's easy, right?
Yep.
But when things are hard and shit hits the fan, it's a whole other story of who you are as a human being. So you have a whole new perspective on life. I know I started this podcast because I have a whole new perspective on life. I realize that's fragile. Yeah. I don't look at days anymore. I don't know about you, but I don't look at days. Do you look at days?
I've never thought about it. I don't know what I look at and what I don't. I'm just
you just get up, right?
Go do life.
Yeah.
Whatever life comes today is the day.
That's what I get up and I go do life. I know there's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday written on a calendar. But all I know is I wake up and I say, thank you, Lord. I have another day to live life.
Absolutely.
And you're going to run into people and have an impact on them. And if you don't think your life is going to have an impact either, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a plumber, electrician, trash picker, whatever you do, you have a purpose, and you can have an impactful purpose. And your story resonates so clearly. You went basically to death. You died 14 times, came back to life, and now you're here. Yep. And you know what, Hodge? Bless you. May God bless you so that as you go forward in your life and you get through that journal that your mom did for you, writing every day down, you can see the love that she had for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for the people
that were a part of taking care of you.
She prayed for every one of them by name. She wrote down who came and visited, what doctors, even the doctors from the ER who weren't, quote, allowed to be up there anymore because they kept asking too many questions.
And knowing just a little bit about your mom, I think she might have prayed even for the guy that got the Crocs.
Well,
she has that heart, where she's probably like, you know what? They got through this terrible incident. Here you are hanging over dying. Someone's like, whoop, these would be nice,
Those Crocs.
I mean, that's just like amazing to know that we have parents like that. Like my parents are the same way. They just love and care over us. What a blessing. Hodge, thank you for coming to
thanks for having me.
Podcast. Again, this is Angels and Demons podcast. This is episode 4, season 1. And we're just so grateful. This is called Awakening. And, this is an awakening. I mean, this is a moment where Hodge realized in his life that as he reflects back, he's continuing to reflect each and every day back on these journals that his mother wrote of him going through a recovery process. May God bless you and everyone else there that's going through a difficult time, and know that we're thinking of you. We're here for you. Yep. And if you would like to come and share your story to help other people, we would love to have you on this show. Thank you, Hodge, so much.
Yes, thanks
and
for having
God
me.
bless you.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Cheers.